Good evening, Rocky Roadsters. Well, evening for us. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday, which is a very odd time for us to be recording. We are a little bit out of sorts as of late, and we decided to bring you a little bit of a different episode. We do not have a guest. Mandy, why don't we have a guest?
We don't have a guest because, one, life is a little crazy, and we just have not had a chance to edit some of our guest podcasts, just all full disclosure. And two, we started the year intending on having our own episodes with just Kristin and I every other week, but we had an influx of guests and it was very exciting. And we got very excited because so many people wanted to be on our podcast that we were like, oh, we're just going to do guests every week. And then we kind of felt like our voices got lost in the sharing of guest episodes every single week. And it was always a new person and always a new story. And they are absolutely amazing. And we highly recommend that you listen to them. However, we wanted to offer some of the things that we bring to the table too. So we are going back to our original plan and offering you unsolicited advice. No, just kidding. We're offering you some helpful tips and tricks on things in life that we've learned, things that we've gone through, our own personal stories, our own personal experiences, and bringing you episodes with just the two of us every 2 weeks. And that's super exciting. So welcome to those that are on YouTube. Welcome to our nighttime look.
It's not pretty. Just spoiler alert to anyone who's only listening. If you want to see what haggard looks like, go ahead and look at my face right now. I'm tired.
Yeah, check it out. Sweet.
Check it out.
So, yeah, other than that, there's just been a lot of things going on in our lives. So we are refocusing, resetting, and coming back at you. So get us started, Kristin. Take it away.
All right. So as is the tendency with Mandy and myself, I'm the one who's coming with a list. So I want to talk a little bit today about some really tangible things that you can do to increase your self-awareness. That way you can actually change a lot of things in your life. If you are more aware of what's going on emotionally, and if you're more aware of what you're going on mentally, you are going to be much more equipped to handle what life throws at you, good, bad, ugly. We had a conversation. We did have a guest interview today, and we had a conversation with someone who was talking about normalizing things that can be really hard to process. And that's kind of along the same lines of what we're talking about today, because if you normalize this active maintenance and this active emotional and mental self-care, you are so much more equipped to be a fully functional human. Side note, again, anyone joining us on YouTube, this is not a Yeti behind me. My dog is in the room because he's super anxious right now. So lots of distractions happening. But because I do some of these daily things, I'm better equipped to handle them. So
right. And also because we're real life people. I just have to say one thing. There's so many podcasts out there and there's so many things out there that are like self-help, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's always like so overwhelming. I feel like I just hit this point where I'm like, I cannot look at another helpful tip or I'm going to burst. And so we're just here to kind of hang out with people and like you can listen to us banter back and forth and like have a good time, but also to bring you something that could be of value to you. Take what you want. Don't feel like you have to do what we say. And we're also not perfect at doing it either. So.
Oh, heck no. So a couple of the things that I'm talking to you about today, I am so bad at, but I know that when I do them, I feel better. And so it's that kind of dichotomy of, I know so many different ways that you can help yourself. And I do some of them sometimes, but if I did all of them all the time, I would be a much more mentally healthy person. And it's just being human and the human experience is that of being flawed and figuring it out. And the fact that I can't control anything but myself. So whatever the world is throwing at me right now, I have no control over. And so if I can try things out and see what works for me, that's really all I can do. So,
sure. And it's just one of those things too, that's a good reminder because we go through seasons in our lives that we are better at certain things than other times of our life too. And so coming out of, for me, full disclosure, like a pretty depressive season is now, I can try to get back into these things and doing these things to take care of myself. And also these tips and tools have helped me get through a difficult season too, whether that's anxious or whatever, you name it. it can help you. It can help you in your daily life. So start with number uno.
Numero uno. Well,
Numero uno.
this is the one that I'm pretty bad at because I am easily distracted in the mornings and in the evenings. But what I recommend is just some sort of check-in. And you've heard us do check-ins. We do like the peak and the pit of your week. I've asked Mandy, what's the peak and the pit of your week? Or like a star and a wish. What's something great that happened, or what's something great that happened, and as well, what's something that you wish could be improved upon. And so the whole purpose of a check-in, you're not doing a survey in the morning. You're not saying on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your mood. But if that's the one that works for you, you can wake up and say, I feel like a 4 because the dog didn't let me sleep and my back hurts and it's raining outside and I have to do something outside today. And okay, that's your check-in. One of my favorite ones is like a body scan. So just taking a deep breath, doing a body scan from head to toe and saying, how are all these different parts feeling? Breathing in, saying, what part of me is tense? How can I bring attention and love to that part of me that day? Usually it's just general exhaustion and just needing to be able to take a little bit of a mental rest. But you can think about there are different resources, and I'd love to make a resource for our listeners just to say this is an effective body scan or this is an effective check-in for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point of this one, I'm going to ask you, Mandy, what the heck is the point of a check-in? What do you think? Because I have opinions.
I mean, I would say that it's just a way that you can become, like we're talking about self-awareness. How can you know what you need? And one of the ways that I actually always check in with my body in the way that like when you're talking about is in the car, because sometimes I sit in and then I'm like sitting crooked and that's not good for my body. So yes, you can do a physical body check-in, but you can also just be like, okay, where am I tense? So my shoulders are really tight. My back hurts today. My head hurts today, whatever it is. And just checking in, because your physical body is just as important to take care of as your emotional, spiritual, mental sides as well. So yeah, just to check in, I would say is just like, where are you at? Where are you holding some tension? What do you need? What does your body need in that moment?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use an example of, I agree. There's so many different reasons. And again, like for our listeners, we're just speaking out of our own experience. And so if you have a really good check-in that you use, please tell us, because then we can share your ideas as well. But I'm going to use a practical example of something that I've used before. It's with little kids, because I used to work with little kids in adolescent acute psych. And so it was really interesting because there's a lot of feelings in tiny little bodies and they never think about it and they never process it. And so a crisis situation would happen and it would be an unsafe scenario, and we'd check in with the kid and say, what were you thinking in that moment? What was going through your mind? And like, I don't know. So if the only time that you're ever thinking about how you're feeling is processing afterwards, you might be able to enhance kind of your life experience by saying, oh, I feel myself getting angry. I feel myself being upset. If your body's getting hot, I feel like maybe I need to take a walk, take a sip of water. So then if you're doing that morning, and again, it doesn't have to be every hour on the hour, I would recommend a morning check-in and an evening check-in. And when you're driving, that's another really great time, because that's an environmental check-in. It's when I sit in my car, am I sitting properly? I do check-ins. I'm sitting on this little bouncy ball that I just got. So I keep doing check-ins about my posture to say, am I feeling comfortable? Am I feeling strong? Am I feeling powerful? Because if you check in 10 times a day, you're likely to check in when you're feeling stressed without even realizing it, because it's going to be so normalized as part of your day. And so then your emotional regulation is going to be better. Your reactions to negative things and positive things is going to be more effective.
And also seeing how it fluctuates throughout the day. What you need in the morning is different than what you need at night. And so constantly thinking to yourself, okay, body check from head to toe, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where am I at? And just kind of take like a 2-minute snapshot of what that looks like at that point in your day. Because if you're working a normal 9-to-5 job, at 12 o'clock, you're halfway through your day, let's say, and you may be feeling super tense. And then at 7 in the morning, you may be nice and relaxed because you had a good night's sleep magically, whatever it may be. And so I think just having that pattern and knowing the way that your body is responding to certain things, that people talk about like the afternoon slump that you fall into after you eat your lunch and you just get really tired. So when does that happen and why does that happen? And are there things you can do to change that aside from just drinking a coffee or something? Like just seeing what your body needs on a regular basis and taking care of yourself.
Yep. Numero dos.
Numero dos.
Numero dos. So the first
How to be
one.
more self-aware. Number 2.
This is, I stand by this one 1,000, 100,000,000, all numbers out of order percent. Big
Squared.
number, percent squared. It's some sort of intentional, active practice. Now, before you log off and say, she wants me to go work out. No, if that's your active practice, great. My active practice sometimes is driving in silence because I have my solitude in my car. I have an intern that I work with. And so sometimes I have someone in my car for the entire day with me. And then I also listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of music. There's a lot of sound that goes in and out of my brain every single day. And so being able to actively sit in my car in silence for my 40-minute drive to work can be super, super helpful. And I just let my mind go wherever it needs to go without being distracted by other stimuli. Of course, I'm not closing my eyes and meditating because I'm driving, and that would be very unsafe. But what I'm doing is I'm breathing and I'm just allowing my thoughts to process how they need to. Your active practice might be yoga. It might be journaling. It might be sitting in silence at home. It might be a walk around the block. One of the most important parts about whatever this active practice is that you're basically putting yourself on do not disturb mentally, and you are intentional about this practice. And I know, like Mandy, you're a mom. Silence probably doesn't happen in your home a lot. So being able to say, what is the time that I am able to provide for myself for that purpose? It might be after bedtime. You might have to get up a couple minutes earlier. That never happens with me. I get up when I want to get up or when I absolutely have to get up. I used to be a morning person, not so much anymore. But being able to do that in a mindful way. For example, sometimes doing the dishes for me can be really, really useful for that type of practice because there's only a certain amount of dishes in the sink. It's really tactile, and I really enjoy, I love water, and I love the feeling of water on me, and you're accomplishing something. But just doing the dishes and being in my mind and in my body while I'm actively paying attention to how the water feels in my hands, to how the suds feel, to how it looks going down the drain. It can be fascinating to slow down and do mundane daily things as an active, more meditative practice. What's yours?
You're still being productive, but you're also finding a time to rest because when you have your hands in the sink full of water, you're not looking at your phone and scrolling. And I think I'm learning because there's certain things that I like to do that keep my brain really busy, and that's not rest. So like I have a game on my phone that I like to play, and when I play it, I'm like, oh, this is so restful. But it's actually like a mind game. So it makes my mind wake up and try to figure things out and try to solve this puzzle. And so I like the same thing for you, that it's silence in driving, but also remembering to not pick up your phone. And that's a hard one for a lot of people too. And I know like no texting and driving, sure. But when you're at a red light or you're at a stop sign or you're stuck in traffic, it's so easy to just pick up your phone and just like send a quick message or check your email real fast or whatever it may be. And so, yeah, just being intentional about like, I'm going to put my phone down or I'm going to put maps on or something. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to put on music. I'm not going to be scrolling Spotify, and just taking that time to just be quiet. Again, it's a time for you to be able to do your body check in of like, where are you that day? I think for me, I like to just go for a walk or do something around the house, like whether that's vacuuming or folding laundry. I know you love to fold laundry, Kristin. So
I would rather walk over hot coals than fold laundry. Quite honestly, it's the worst. That would agitate me.
Kristin and I talk about how we would be just a great pair because I like to do laundry and doing things in the house like that, and she likes to cook, and she is like the complete opposite. Loves the grocery shop, and I would rather pluck my eyes out than go into a grocery store. So it's just funny how we would match. But anyway,
great college roommates.
Yeah, we would have absolutely crushed it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I like doing that kind of thing. I do like to read or something that's not self-help in a way, because one of the things that my counselor told me too, she's like, you can burn out from improving yourself, whether that's like trying to think differently or try to change a mindset or change a daily practice or whatever it may be. Yes, you can do that, but you also can't completely shift all your habits overnight and expect yourself to be okay with that. It's just not a healthy thing to do so rapidly. So with a very busy brain like I have, that's thinking all the time and trying to always make sure my schedule's lined up. I know where my kid is at all times. I know what I'm doing, how I can be productive, whatever that may look like, balancing 3 to 4 to 5 different roles in my life. It's just like, how do I turn my brain off and let it just breathe for a second?
And I'm glad that you brought up the technology bit too, because my friends, my dear, lovely friends, I love Instagram just as much as the next person, but sitting and doom scrolling through reels is not self-care. You're dissociating.
And it's
And
also not good for you.
you're not for your brain, not for your eyes, not for your attention span. Don't get me on the rant about why our attention span is so short nowadays, because I have such strong feelings about certain tech, and I'm privy to it. And I sat on Mandy's couch today. I was looking for a specific soundbite, and I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I must have gone through 20 or 30 videos in a couple minutes. Your brain's not meant to take on that amount of data. And I'm ranting, and I need to reel myself in. But see, self-awareness, my friends.
But yeah, it's true, because I think when you think that you're relaxing and that's watching Netflix or scrolling social media, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you name it, and reading through all this stuff, your brain is just flipping over and over and over and over again so quickly. And it's not resting. And so then I think you get down into this rabbit trail that we can go into of like the comparison game and trying to be better. And maybe I didn't pray enough today, or maybe I didn't pray the right scripture today, or maybe I forgot that today was National Cheesecake Day, or whatever it may be. It's like, I needed to celebrate. I should have made tacos for dinner. It's Tuesday. Like whatever. Like you can completely just go down this rabbit trail of self-criticism and comparison. That's also more dangerous, honestly, when you think like, oh, I'm relaxing, I'm just going to scroll social media. And instead you're actually doing more damage to yourself by doing that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I found myself in a little bit of a pit, a little bit of a habit where I watch stupid shows to turn my brain off. I watched Bluey for the first time today. I don't know what I've been missing. I'm going to go watch an episode after we're done, because it's 8 minutes. It's really short. But I have gotten myself into that bad habit of watching something dumb just because it helps my brain to not focus on myself and my needs and my life. This past couple of days, it's been a love-hate relationship, but with doing something as mundane as tearing up parquet wood floors, little Jenga block by Jenga block, I'd sit there for 4 hours and do it and realize I haven't, like, my phone's across the room. I'm listening to music because I was listening to Broadway show tunes, and I was doing it to the beat, and it actually helped me to be more efficient with it.
My goodness.
But you're not surprised. But
I'm proud of you.
Why, thank you. But it was just really amazing because that was active. Something I had to do, but being able to do something with my body and with my attention that was productive has been really good this weekend for my self-care. My body hurts, but I had a reset, because I was like, when I was done, there was extra time. I was like, no, I'm going to go take a very relaxing shower. I'm going to cook myself a nice meal, and I'm going to go to bed and rest, because I did hard work and I didn't have the want to sit and dissociate on the couch, because I felt accomplished in what I've been doing, as exhausting as it was. But
Sure.
yeah,
it's also so interesting. I think it's really cool too, because I had a really busy weekend, and I went from 8 a.m. to not checking Instagram, because I'm equally as guilty as loving reels, and I think they're hilarious. Like, they're really great, they're creative, there's a lot of good content out there, there's a lot of garbage, but there's a lot of really good stuff too. And it was like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. when I actually looked at it the next time, and I felt like, as busy as it was, I felt like I got so much done during the day by not looking at Instagram. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it's a piece of our lives. Like it's part of, for us with the podcast, it's part of marketing and it's part of what we do and it's part of what we need to do and we have to be a part of it. But knowing when, again, the self-awareness, when you know that you're going into a pit of comparison or down a spiral of looking into somebody's profile real deep down into their archives because they posted a really comical video that's hilarious and you just keep watching all of their comedy. Not that it's a bad thing, but again, same thing with watching a TV show. Not that it's a bad thing to watch some kind of funny, dumb TV show, but it's really the self-awareness and the intention of why am I doing this? Do I need to watch just an 8-minute show just to take my brain away from all of the activity that it is doing on a daily basis? Sure, maybe. But if you're watching 28-minute shows and you're just sitting there for hours, like what are you actually doing? What are you trying to avoid at that point? There's either an emotion or a task or something that you're trying to suppress because you don't want to bring it up. So, yeah. That's my little rant.
3. I love our little rants.
Okay. I just put up like the number 3, but you remember that part in Shrek when they're like, pick 3, my lord, and they put up like number 2 or whatever.
That's
and
what I thought. I thought you were giving a peace sign because we always throw up the victory V, the peace sign in pictures, but you put up a 3. So I was like, what am I missing? Is this some new, speaking of social media?
Yeah. No, it's just the Shrek analogy. Pick 3, my lord. You know, when he's like, which princess should he pick or whatever? Anyway. Okay, moving on. Numero tres.
So this one is one of the hardest ones for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be because, okay, rewind. We believe what we say about ourselves, even if we don't say it out loud. So this one can be tricky because I get lost in this like negative self-talk hole all the time. And I've had to actively stop myself as if I'm in a conversation with someone else and say, stop, be nice to yourself. And then I will flip what I'm saying because the power of positive self-talk is so amazing. And it is so simple and hard at the same time. So we had a guest, Kim, on. She wrote a book called Love Is, and she had this beautiful. We'll share the reel so you can find it easily on our stories this week. But she talks about how she looks herself in the mirror, tells herself something good, a temptation that she didn't give into that day, and then she says, "I love you," and that's so uncomfortable. And I can tell Mandy, I love you and I'm proud of you. And she may or may not believe it. But to say it to ourselves, it's a whole different level of understanding and believing. Because even if we don't believe it, if we say it to ourselves enough, we will start to. And so, I mean, you don't necessarily have to stare yourself down in the mirror, but something like a mantra. So I'm using a lot of client analogies today, but I have a 13-year-old who is struggling with feeling like she's not fitting in, and that she's a bad person because someone had called her rude, and that's stuck with her. And her thought process is just to ruminate over that. So this client and I, we wrote a song where the main chorus was repetitive mantras because she's feeling like she's not fitting in and that she's not a good person. So I had her repeat, I'm a good person. And other things, other positives, I am creative, I am kind, I am a good person. And we kept doing that over and over and over again. And she was just starting to believe it. And we did this for 20 minutes together. We don't always have someone who's with us who's willing to say, repeat after me, I'm a good person. Because
for 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes straight. I mean, obviously, I wasn't just drill sergeanting her to say that. It was within the context of a big, really beautiful music therapy experience where she repeated, I'm a good person, probably 15 times over that period of time. And man, if we could just have someone on our shoulder to say, now repeat after me, you are not ugly. Repeat after me, your life is worth living. That would be so huge. So mantras, looking at saying 3 nice things about yourself, writing it down. If you can't say it out loud yet, write it down. Get yourself a chalk marker and write it on that bathroom mirror. because then you have to look at it every single time you go brush
Mm-hmm.
your teeth or wash your hands or wash your face, any of that. There's some people who find solace in different poetry, in different Bible verses. There are so many different ways that we can use, if our words aren't working yet, there are so many different ways that we can use other people's words to help empower us until we can find the ones that really work for us.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to even um, know that this isn't a prideful thing. This isn't something that comes from a place of arrogance where we have to fall in love with ourselves in this way of like, oh, I'm better than you. But again, going back to the social media thing, we compare ourselves so much. And I don't know how many, I honestly could not tell you the last time that I met a woman who was actually 100% confident, proud, not self critical. I just don't even know if that like totally exists right now,
Mm-hmm.
without being fake or false, because we point out all of our imperfections because we live in
Mm-hmm.
our own minds. So we live in our heads all day long, every day, from the second we wake up to the second we go to bed. And what do we tell ourselves all day long? And for me, it's constantly criticizing myself. Oh, I wasn't good enough in that, and I didn't answer this quick enough, and I didn't, I missed this moment as a mom because I was looking at my phone or answering a phone call or like doing something different, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
you can just go down this trail. So it comes from a place really of just finding this balance, again, living in this world where things are really really good and things are really bad. And so we kind of find this balance of ourselves where we can become self-aware, that we know our imperfections and we know where places that we struggle that can help make that we need to work on. But
Mm-hmm.
we also know really good qualities that we can bring. We all have something good in us that is a positive. Other people can point that out to you very easily, but it's harder for you to believe that. And so when you find that, you can constantly validate yourself in something, like you said, Kristin, as you find your words, like as you find your worth, WORTH, you can also just say, I know that I am a good listener. I am a good speaker. I am a good friend. I am a good roommate. I am a good
Mm-hmm.
parent, whatever that may be. And then say that out loud. And also, same like you were saying too, saying things that are maybe not coming from that place of pride, but that like if you're single, you are worthy of somebody to love you and respect you. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. If
Mm-hmm.
you are a working mom and you don't want to be a working mom, it's okay that you are still a good mom if you're a working mom. And
Mm-hmm.
the list goes on. I'm sure you can think of things too. And so we just try to find what works for us and say that. I know for me, one of the things that I've learned too, just as a parent, is how important it is to validate our kids with the good qualities that they have, because we're so quick to correct them because they do ridiculous things that can make you very frustrated. But it's so easy to just be like, why'd you do that? But then at the end of the day, you can also be like, I'm really proud of you. I think you did a great job today making a friend feel loved, or
Mm-hmm.
name it, say something. Don't just be like, um, you know, something very, really vague. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I am strong. What does that mean? Are
Mm-hmm.
you physically strong? Are you mentally strong? Are you emotionally strong? Are you spiritually strong? Whatever that may be, like name it and say it. And don't be afraid to say that about another person, but we need to figure out how to say that to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. You love other people so much more when you love yourself appropriately.
Absolutely.
And when you're feeling negative and bitter about yourself, or resentful, or just angry or sad, whatever one of those emotions, if you're feeling any negative emotion about yourself, that takes up so much mental emotional space that you really can't be there for anybody else. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's another reason why this being able to build some self-awareness emotionally, physically, mentally really benefits not only you, but your entire life experience. Because if my self awareness is so low that I can't realize that I'm being a huge you know what to my husband, and it's going to negatively affect our evenings together, and then he doesn't want to hang out with me because I'm being rude, or I'm being tired, or I'm being bitter, or I'm being
Mm-hmm.
nasty, come on, that just is not fair to anybody. And then he's upset and he'll go to work and he'll vent to his coworkers. He doesn't vent to anybody, actually. That's not what he does, but he's not a gossiper at all. But if he were another person, he might go to work and vent to his coworkers about how his wife is being ridiculous about some silly thing. And then there's a ripple effect, because then he's cranky at work. And if he's cranky at work, the inmates are not happy, right? So it's just, you can affect so much in your life, positive and negative. So why not make it positive? Because it will then come back full circle and help you and the rest of your life.
And bringing it full circle here, it's more so what you were saying too, is like, it's that self-awareness. When you find that self-awareness of what you're looking for in who you are, and knowing all of those pits and peaks that you have, all of anything that you may be going through, whether in your life or processing past, like your past, there's certain things in my life that I'm processing right now that are really difficult, that I know are impacting other areas of my life. And I have to, the people that are around me that are loving me and caring for me and are supporting me through this, have to be made aware that this is what's happening. It's unfair for me to not be self-aware and then to snap at my daughter because I'm angry at something that happened to me 5 years ago and I'm working through it. And so it's telling her in what she can understand in an appropriate age for her to say, this is what I'm going through. And again, coming back to what we were saying in the beginning, is like normalizing something that is difficult to talk about, and normalizing something that is not normal in our world. And that is just to be open and honest about where you are at feeling wise. Maybe you need a day where you don't talk to people. Maybe you need a day where you just take care of yourself, and that's important. Maybe you need extra sleep for a season where you need 10 hours instead of 8. Maybe you need a nap during the afternoon, whatever that may be. And just being able to share that with people. And if people can't understand it or accept it, then that's really something that's just either at a place that they don't understand yet. Again, not without reason. You're not going to just say to your job, like, yeah, I need a 2-hour nap this afternoon. Sorry. It just doesn't work like that. But if you need to come home from work and you need to turn your phone off for an hour, so that you can have a moment of silence and you can have some time to yourself, then do it.
Yeah.
Work it in your schedule and how your life is lined up so that you can better care for yourself, which will give you the energy and the capacity to better care for others.
Love it. So to recap, check in with yourself, have an active, intentional practice, and talk to yourself in a really nice, positive way. Positive self-talk, number 3. Really important to do those 3 things. Those are what's worked for us. And like we said, we go off of our own experiences and what we've heard other people have had success with. And so if you have a skill that you want to share with us that is really amazing for you, please let us know, because that builds our knowledge base. That gives me something else to test out. One of my book recommendations a couple up way back actually was Atomic Habits, little tiny things that can change your big life. And then these are 3 little tiny things that can change your entire experience. So, and to close up a little bit, we're also going to, like Mandy said in the beginning, we're also doing a couple more solo episodes with just me and her, and we have a great big list of ideas that we want to talk about. But if you have things that you are curious about, if something's come up in an episode, you want to do a deeper dive into, they talked about borderline, what the heck is borderline, or maybe different mental health disorders, or even saying, okay, how do I self-regulate, or how do I set positive boundaries with my relationships? These are all ideas that we have, but we want to hear from you as well. So if you have something that you're really curious about, that you want to hear us talk about, from our experience, from our own research, things like that, please let us know. We have an email address. We'll post it in the show notes. But until next time, we love ya.
Have a great week.